Good morning, everyone. I've got my coffee. I've got some leftover concert hair. I've got makeup on for you. I've got jet lag. But I'm here and I'm super excited for our chat this morning with the amazing coach, pianist, assistant conductor, everything extraordinaire, Anthony Manoli, who is my vocal coach. And I can't wait for you guys to meet him. So let's get him on here. Here we go. 2, 1. Come on, Instagram. You know you want to work. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning.
Good,
Good morning,
good morning.
Tony.
Third time is the
The
charm.
third time
Explain.
has to be the charm. Hello, everyone. We tried to do this when I was in Zurich, right? When I was
Right.
in Zurich, right?
Mhm.
And the gosh darn internet was just not allowing us to be together. So now let's hope that in New York City and Florida that we're going to have a wonderful chat this morning. So welcome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, there's a lot of people on. Hi. As we're going through our chat today, please feel free, guys, to throw up your questions in the little question icon at the bottom of this chat. I will monitor it and make sure we get to everything that you want to know. We will spill all of the tea. So please feel free to use that little question icon and chat with us. Can't wait to hear all of your questions and get you all of the information we possibly can. So this live is entitled Hi South Africa. This live is entitled The Singer Coach Relationship. And the reason I titled it that is because I think that the singer coach relationship is one of the most important relationships that an artist can develop for their personal team. Ciao, buongiorno, Courtney in Roma. I think that this relationship is incredibly important because not only is this person helping you vocally, musically, etc., but they're literally your eyes and ears for what goes on stage. And so my relationship with Tony is one of the most important ones in my life and on my team. And I feel like Tony is my family. So I want to encourage everyone to seek out and find this relationship for themselves. I want to define that for you. And I want to define what that coach and singer relationship should be, how you should be preparing roles together, what all of that sort of looks like. So, first, let me tell you guys how I met Tony. You're going to love this. I was covering the great and fabulous Sondra Radvanovsky at the Metropolitan Opera, who Tony has worked with for a very long time. How long, Tony?
Almost,
25 years? 30 years?
almost 30. Almost
30
30. Hmm.
years. Can you imagine a musical relationship lasting almost 30 years? Is
Hmm.
incredible. So I was covering Sondra and I was preparing Adriana Lecouvreur. And I was having a really tough time with it because it's big and it takes a very special type of verismo singing. And I had said to Sondra, oh gosh, I'm having a really hard time with this score. And she said to me, oh, you have to see Tony. And I was like, who's Tony? And so she said, don't worry, I'm going to set you up with him. And she literally called Tony in sea level at the Met and said, I'm sending you a new soprano. She's very special. You need to see her. And I was like, oh, I love you, Sondra. And I love Sondra so much. So that is when I met Tony, and we have prepared every role that I have sung to date since Adriana Lecouvreur. And it just has been such a wonderful working relationship. So thank you, Tony. Oh, I love all the hearts. Thank you,
I'm
guys.
gonna, I'm gonna leave now. This was a lot of fun, and this
Ah!
is all I need to hear. My God, this is too
What
good.
dreams are made of, Corey? Absolutely. So, Tony, I wanted to ask you first, and I think this is really important to define. What is the role of a coach, of a vocal coach, on a singer's team? What do you do? What's your job? What what is why are you so important to us? Basically, because you are.
I think the beginning has to start with encouraging you all to be good at your prep in the following ways. I can't say notes and rhythms enough. I say it to everybody at every level in the game because people are multitasking. People have guns to their heads. People have 2 years to learn a role. People have 5 days. So get into the correct, okay, what do you do before you see me? And if I'm going to start talking about language, natural accent, accent d'insistance, accento tonico in Italian, prosodic use of the language, then that's what I'm going to start influencing immediately when I see you. You might be at a certain level where you've been on many stages, and you come in and sing a completely monotone line of Italian, French, German without any inflection. I start there. Correct the notes, correct the rhythms, then physicalize all of it. Listen to me. Those in the back of the bus, just don't learn the notes. You have to sing them in well enough that they're so flexible that when you get done with me, if you survive that lovely ordeal of working in detail with me, I don't get, and you don't either, in most cases, the luxury of calling the stage director and the conductor and saying, why don't you come in and watch us work?
Yep.
They don't care, and they don't have the time. So you have to be flexible enough to then take in what they give you. And my mind is blowing up already because what's going on in my head is secco recitative. Oh, how do you do that? And come into your first stage in rehearsal. After you've learned all of that so well, you get somebody throw you a curveball. I have to have you ready and open and available to accept the curveball. And
Yeah, you have to get us so prepared that we can do whatever
mhm,
the director is asking us, the conductor is asking us, and we don't say, I can't. And
right. I mean,
that's
sure,
very important.
sure. Or there are extenuating circumstances, sure, but most of the time you have to be in a place where you're so flexible with what we did here. Hopefully we had enough time. Sometimes we don't, but you know our relationship well enough to know and translate what I'm saying to you quickly. That's after years of experience, but you know how to deal with the conductor. I've just had it all this week with what's going on in a different opera company in this country. Nope, those tempi, what you thought was so fast is now too slow.
Yeah.
And you have to do the following staging with it. So you get the help. Can we go on Zoom 5 minutes ago? Sure. And hopefully I know that person well enough. But the other part of my responsibility as a coach who's very vocal, and I am, is to see what and diagnose where you are going wrong.
Yes, exactly.
I don't love virtual, but sadly, I have to admit it's effective.
It is. In fact, thank goodness for virtual so we can see each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I sort of, for me, I sort of love the fact that you you're basically like the central character in the play for me. And I have all the members of the team, right? I have Michael Paul, who's my voice teacher. I have Lucy Tucker Yates, who's my Italian coach. And Tony, yeah, Lucy. Tony's kind of the cream in the middle of the Oreo,
Oh
right?
my
He
God,
takes all of the things and puts them
he
together
tries.
with the music. So there's, we do talk about vocal technique, if something is going wrong, if there's something sharp or flat or whatever. But also we talk about the language, as Tony said as well. So it's kind of taking all of the aspects, which is why your job is so important, and like putting them
Yeah,
all together to create your role, to create what you're going to put on stage. So that's the reason I think that this role, the role of the vocal coach and the musical coach, is so important on any artist team. And to find that trust, to find that relationship with someone who knows your voice, understands your voice, and you trust their ears to tell you, hey, babe, that's flat, or hey, your vibrato's going wonky there. To have that is really, really important. Um, so talk a little bit now, because also the role of a vocal and musical coach is to advise singers on the trajectory of the career.
Mhm.
And this is one thing that actually I am very admirable. I have great admiration for what you and Sondra have done with Sondra's trajectory in her career. Talk about how you discuss that with singers, how you build a career from lighter roles to heavier roles, when you move heavier, that kind of thing, because you know the voice so well and we trust you. I mean, I just wrote you a text message last week and said, could I actually do this?
Mhm.
And Tony's answer was, well, yeah, of course you can, but should you?
Mhm.
So how does that play into your role on a singer's team?
Well, the trajectory of the industry, first of all, plays an important role. I could tell you what I like today, but a lot of those agents and casting directors will disagree. I have found through the years of doing this, weight of the voice and color of the voice are consistently miscast.
Mm,
So if a person has a chiaroscuro voice, I've heard their agents put them up for spinto roles when they're just a lyric soprano. This is a daily occurrence. So
mm.
I say, all right, let's take some factors in this. Are you poor, struggling, you need to put food on your table? If I tell you to turn that down, is that going to be a big problem for you financially? Or yes, but while you're learning said role, which is pushing you a half a flock too heavy, is there medicine around it for your voice
Mhm.
that could keep you healthy? And then in your case, I said, yeah, you can do it. Now here's the problem. You're going to get 2,000 offers after it. Are you ready to turn down most of them? And what do you feel with your agent the reaction of the opera houses will be when you turn them down? So
Exactly.
how would you like to play that?
Mhm.
If you want to wait a few more years, great. Can your voice handle it today? Yes. But that's not really, that is a short-term answer. So you're not at an age where I would say, oh, Jen, yeah, you got 5 or 8 years left. Sure. No. Think
Right.
about how much bloom you're going to take off the lily.
Exactly.
And I love hearing from all my singers, but it's a
Oh yeah.
small house.
It's a small house, or it's only one concert, or
Sure, sure,
but
it
this
is.
this relationship, this communication is exceptionally important that you be able to have with your coach. And I actually really love, Tony, that you said, do you need to put food on the table? Because so many singers do need that money, right? They do need that performance. And not just to put food on the table sometimes, but just for the sake of momentum,
Yep,
and so
absolutely.
to be able to have that honest discussion with someone on your team, to be able to say, gosh, I really like, could I really do this because I really need this money, or is this something we really need to turn down? This is also a part of your team and the discussion with that team of how you progress through your career.
And
And
if I'm going to coach a role that's in question that you or another singer asked me about, when they talk about the one show or the two shows or the small house, I say, now, can you sing without temperament?
uh,
A role with extraordinary temperament without risking a review that says you're cold and
mm,
you're only thinking about your technique.
mm, mm,
But if
mm,
you're thinking about your technique,
mm,
yeah, then maybe this isn't the role for you to experiment on, which
right.
is extremely full of whatever that character has to portray. Again, we're back to physicalizing the music. If you can't physicalize it without leading a bad conductor with your throat,
Mm,
can't do it with your body, then I'm going to say,
mm,
try not to do it
exactly.
at all.
But
Wait.
this is the expertise that we as singers really need. We need the experience of someone who has been in the business for 20, 30 years, who has assistant conducted, who has been around to see what conductors will do, and what you might have to do to lead a conductor. And you have to take all of those factors into effect when you are deciding, am I going to take this on? Am I not going to take this on? So let's take that and segue now into sort of the role preparation side of your job. Because when we go to a vocal musical coach, normally it's because either we're preparing arias or something for an audition or a competition, or we're preparing a new role. And so, when I'm going to Tony every single day for a week in New York City, like we did 2 weeks ago, it's because I got a new score 3 weeks ago. I got to do well because it's my debut at Cagliari, and we got to get this thing in my throat immediately.
Mhm.
So let's talk about approaching how we learn a new role and what we need to do before we come into the studio to see you. Because for me, before I come to see you, I have already created that learning plan. I've broken down into scenes. I've learned everything. I've plunked out those notes. And I have gone to voice lessons to technically figure out how to do this section, this section, this section. And once I've done all of that work, then I'm coming to you. And my language work also, obviously. I'm sitting with Lucy by my pool reading through libretti, of course.
Well,
So what do you like to have done? What should a singer's preparation process be before they come and stand in front of their musical coach?
well, you were an exception. Jen Rowley is the hardest working singer. I mean, my God, I would love you all to do what you just said. And if you get Lucy by the pool, you're rocking out. That's the
For
best right there.
real.
Okay, here's what I correct constantly. Again, notes and rhythms. I'm going to sound so pedantic and so remedial, but if those notes and rhythms aren't sung in correctly, you lose some of the power of the text. All right. Indications in the score, guys. Tenuti, marcate, portati, legatissimo, secco. A lot of people just gloss over. They come in and they'll sing things without really being a good detective. Let me speak to one thing very quickly, multitasking. If you can't multitask well, don't. It's okay. If you don't multitask, layer. And you can layer every few days, speak the text, find the natural accent. That's another problem with singers. They did the remedial work, but they don't know where they're going in the sentence. Okay. French is particularly hazardous because strong beats are not necessarily the stress of the piece. The way it's
French is
written,
the worst.
it's on the wrong syllable. So you have to
It's
deal with the
so
accent
difficult. It's
distance.
so difficult,
I'm still
especially when you don't speak the language, but you've had experience with the diction. It's so difficult to put a role in French together.
so
So difficult.
all of you guys who struggle with it and say, but I can't afford language coaches. This is
Ugh.
the other thing is affordability. So you go find someone you know, or you go maybe get a tutor at Columbia University in languages who will work for $40 an hour, $35 an hour, and say, can I speak through this slowly? Can you
100%.
show me where this goes?
100%.
And then,
You must have done that language coaching
but
before you go
that
to see
doesn't
Tony.
happen all the
I
time.
know.
So part of my role is, okay, I don't know what you just said. You didn't have a clue about where you sang. You don't know where the strong beats are. And I'm putting a tip bowl up on the piano when I hear Que gelida manina. I want $1 every time. You know, if you didn't do your work, come in and actually record and go back and work slowly. I will say all the time to singers, I said it yesterday. I mean, we're talking very fine singers. I'm not talking about slouches who still get mangled in a language.
Yeah.
And I will say, okay, look, what helped me, my first entree into all-night dramatic French recitative was all the Gluck operas in France with directors who had done Iphigenie by the 42nd time and could tell you on page 33 in your Baron writer, and the third measure is the following, and you go, I'm so defeated. I feel like I don't know anything. And then the slow bus for me was to go, c'est-à-dire que lui fait bon travail. just get it in your mouth.
Yes,
Find
just
that you're
in
not
tone.
chewing
Hmm.
language. Because if you don't know that the diction is made primarily the tip of the tongue through the body, and you're not doing this, these are things that's an art
Yeah,
form.
absolutely.
And okay, here's the small levels that we're tiering right now. Then comes, are you reading? What are
Mm.
you reading? What are you reading? I had already had experience with two of the three queens already before Sondra. I was fortunate enough to do them with Gruberova in the Liceo
Mm.
back in the old days, before the fire.
The
Deborah,
queen herself, Gruberova. I used to, when
Deborah,
I was in college, I literally just would like stack the CDs up of
and
Gruberova
then
and just listen one after the other.
be in the room with her when she's working and say that's not possible.
Yes.
How?
Wow.
How did someone work the breath that way?
Wow.
Uh, Adita and Rocky Blake for me were walking breath exercises.
Yes. I love it.
So I got to see that at work. Still not coaching. I was more assistant conductor and just playing rehearsals for Bonning at that time. So I'm in DC years later, and I run into Stephen Lawless. Shout out to Stephen, who's done those shows. I said, I can read the history books. I could watch Helen Mirren, the HBO. Oh my God,
Amazing.
nothing like it. We could watch Betty Davis. What are you reading? I need a little bit more insight. He said, "Oh, Elizabeth's Bedfellows. That's by yeah, that's by Anna Whitelock. She's a professor at London University. You'll have it from the ladies in waiting's perspective outside the bedchambers. These are,
Amazing.
and I'm okay, and it's so much more insight into the quirkiness of a woman going into dementia at that point in the evening. Okay, it gave me a lot more insight. I don't even tell the singer yet to read it until I do.
I love
Uh,
that.
okay, Bohème, Scène de la vie de Bohème, Henri Murger.
Yes,
Please
you
look at it, see what it's
must
based
read.
on.
You
Uh,
must.
Lucia, the Walter
Walter
Scott,
Scott.
excuse me,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
to look at Walter Scott's mother telling him a story that actually happened in the 17th century. So from there, he formed his own opinion to write the book. The brother doesn't drive her crazy as much as the mother does in the book. So she's a Lady Macbethian figure. Why is she so fragile? Death of a parent, not the one she loved. So now, by the time we start Lucia and we get into Regnava, I have to coach that singer is already starting to show signs of fragility.
Exactly.
And why are we getting a little bit of cray-cray where Eliza says, oh boy, it's clear that this is driving you crazy. And she launches into He is my sunshine. Egli è luce. Where did that come from?
Right.
This is the first thing out of her mouth. What do you know that influenced you? I get to yell at them for that.
Yeah.
Why are you so strong at this? You seem very normal. Well, I think everything's fine.
No.
No, it's not. Go back and read how you started. Capoletti e Montecchi, a version of the Shakespeare. First thing we see is O quante volte. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Un refrigerio ai venti. She's been going to that balcony for a long time.
Yeah.
She doesn't see him anymore. Why? Okay, it all happened before. You got to know that. You came in after Lucy for Boca Negra, and I went, oh my God, I love Lucy. This stuff is
The
great.
best. The best. And all of these things, they add so much to the preparation of a role that when you take your music to your vocal coach and you already have some ideas of what you want to do. Was it Aida that we were preparing that Lucy told me about the two different languages that Aida uses and how it actually informs us that Aida is actually quite intelligent and can speak in multiple languages because she uses a different prose for each different type for each different person
Mhm.
that she is speaking to in the opera. Like she has one prose for her father, she has another prose for Radames, and she has another prose when she's speaking to Amneris and the king and all of that. fascinating. And I brought that to Tony, and Tony was like, okay, let's see what we can do to bring that out. Like, how can we actually make
Go
that
higher.
something that's a part of your character? But all of this research, this is also important before you go into your coaching, so you can actually make it real. You
Mhm.
can make it actually happen in the music and on stage.
I did
So when
just
someone's
talking to Gabby Reyes before she went off to sing a beautiful Traviata in Palm Beach. Look, Alexandre Dumas had an affair with Marie Duplessis. She died at 23. The book, she died in 1843 or 1844. The book is published in 1848. The opera starts to go into production in 1853 by Verdi. Why? How did you get there? So, you know, I can say, read this stuff.
read,
Go look at the fact that they were brought together by Manon, the play and the book. So if I can throw that at people and say, do a little research, let's go further, because then I can say, and I'm going to double back again, oh, your listeners are going to think I'm so pedantic, those 16th pickups that everybody makes an eighth loses the intensity of
right.
what's happening in that scene. Please respect the music and make it work for you.
Because
Don't
quite
tell me your
often that
impression.
extra little 16th note is like a thought or a
Mm-hmm.
phrasal double or something that the composer
Right.
intended that you need to have in there. Absolutely. When you're helping a singer prepare a role, if we all had exactly what we wanted, an infinite amount of time, what is the normal amount of time that a singer should take when preparing a new role in order to get all of the elements? And again, this is if we all had, if we had exactly what we wanted to prepare a role. How long do you think it should take, and how long, yeah, what is it, a month? Is it 2 months? Is it, what's kind of your opinion on that?
You said in a perfect world,
In a perfect world, yeah. If we all
six
had what we wanted.
6 months.
Six
Six,
months.
6 months in a perfect world.
And that's for
So
Verdi, Puccini, everything, or
anything, if you're
anything?
looking at a style which requires a lot of discipline, a lot of stylized singing, bel canto comes to mind, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody should have an influence of bel canto in every piece of repertoire they do, my opinion. Then 6 months, if you're layering what we're talking about right now, if you want to get to that level, there's got to be so much physicalizing that music here and in the
Mm-hmm.
body before you can come in and work at a level where we can start to add more layers. I mean,
Yeah.
how richly multifaceted can that character in that piece
Boy, I
be?
wish I could have 6 months, Tony.
Hey, I understand.
Sometimes I
We
get
all learn things too
two.
quickly,
Sometimes we get two.
which is lovely. What did we
Which is,
have?
yeah, which is
What did
lovely.
we have for Adriana Lecouvreur? A month?
I think we had a month and a half. Yeah, a little bit more.
Okay. In New York standards, it's a luxury.
Yes, it was.
It's a luxury.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Boca Negra, we had a lot more time.
And
We had
I
a lot
think
more.
that's where I'm constantly talking to singers about, okay, you're pushing the Fock a little bit. What's going on in parallel with that, which could make this piece of music more informed?
Absolutely.
You
Talk a
know,
little bit about musical styles as well, because that's also a part of your job. You have to switch between musical styles every hour, right? You
Mhm.
somebody who comes in to sing Lucia for you, somebody comes in to sing Nabucco, somebody comes in to sing Bohème, somebody, and you have all of these sort of musical styles running around in your head. And there is a musical style for every one of these different scores. How do you switch between? How do you keep it all straight? How do you teach it? How does that work?
I think I'm going to call on everything I've done in an opera house with a good and bad conductor because I've assisted a lot of both. And you see what not to do to elicit something from a singer.
Mhm.
So if I get Kapellmeister beating and conducting, that singer might not be able to rise above it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to give them a style of A, where the language goes is always going to be that pinnacle of, that's lovely, but I don't know what you're saying. Where's the logic behind it? Does that fit into the criteria of what's on the page? Then let me show you how to do something with the French, because that's where the language goes. Please don't sing Je dis que rien ne m'épouvante. It's on a strong beat. I know. Je dis que rien ne m'épouvante. And then you push the music forward without changing the rhythm. French style, French Baroque style, déclamation. I was indoctrinated in it. I don't say to anybody, come in here and do this with me lightly, because I've had years of experience. I sat in rehearsals as the assistant conductor where the stage directors worked 90 minutes on one page and then said, allons-y, let's go stage it. Great detail. That's where I can start to define styles. Only through experience. I don't want to talk to somebody about Singspiel or any type of, I can read Hofmannsthal all I want. I find it hard. And to try to show a singer some great concept I have, it's not my language.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to send you somewhere else if you really want to go further.
Yeah.
There are things that teach me more about the Hofmannsthal. I have coached Arabella. I learned more about Arabella when I coached the mother figure, Adelaide. And all of a sudden, I found out that she was Rose's mother in the Titanic, who said, you must marry rich. And I got a little bit more insight to what that girl was going through, especially at the party.
Interesting.
So that feeds me. Yeah, I can do notes and rhythms as best as I can, but I would rather send someone who's got the score firmly in their hands, especially Electra, Liebe Deny, all of these very difficult. Cressada Mesa is difficult as well. Go to somebody who's got it in their hands and their mouth.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely
going to do the job if I can't do the words well or have them in my sense of my own core. Look, I know some perfunctory grammar in German, but I'm never, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not your guy.
That's very admirable, because not a lot of people would do that.
I'm better at Czech because I worked with Iveta Graf. She gave me a lot. So I can talk about natural accent. You know, don't do VD, do VD. Look at where it's at. Let's look at the punctuation. And one more thing here I have to add, which I say to everybody, silences can be different in a lot of styles.
Yes, absolutely.
So what is the musical integrity of a silence in a recitative, in a Rossini ensemble, in French dramatic recitative? These are the things that stylistically I keep pushing at singers from my experience. Good conductors taught me that. I can't say the bad ones did, but the good ones did.
We have a question in the chat here, just about something you just said. Sarah Sheskal wants to know, do you have any recommendations for German coaches?
I used to send people to, sadly, Irene Spiegelman, who passed. You have Francois, who does a beautiful job in the summer.
Beautiful. Fantastic job with both French and German.
You know, these are the people I go work with anyone who's doing it in a school. We have good people at Manus. For me, I just say, don't come to me for German, for diction. If you have another source, go to the source. So who's the lady who's doing it still every once in a while at Juilliard? Snazzy Dresser, wonderful woman. She's very vocal. I've forgotten her name. I think she still works at Juilliard. Wonderful, wonderful person as well. I don't have the list of people by me, sadly, for that. I got my French and Italian folks and Czech, but sorry. I'm not going to be on the pulse of that one, but sorry that Irene is not with us. What a class act. As Corradina Caporello was my teacher for Italian diction and the language, so we miss her terribly.
Corradina.
No one like her.
Lovely lady.
But those of you who want to do something in the German language, though, I digress a little bit. Go over. If you can spend a week or two, go there.
I agree. with you.
Go there.
I agree with
Go there.
you. I have definitely dipped my toe into some German repertoire in Germany, in Dresden, with the people working at the house, and the coaching of German repertoire and German language is just so different. I mean, because again, as we're saying, the text is more important to them than if you can sing an 8-bar phrase. Like they could actually care less if you could sing a 2-bar phrase, as long as they get like every glottal attack, every initial and final consonant. Honestly, you could breathe 5 times in a line and they don't care because they just want the text to be super, super, super clear because it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Wagner, even in Strauss, even when you've got those big long lines, they want the text. And so then you have to figure out how to make legato, but also the text. It's a very interesting coaching when you're actually in Germany coaching a German role. It's
I bet.
absolutely everything.
The only way.
Oh, we got a good question here. Looks like Sage's Soprano. Do you have any recommended summer programs for young classical singers? Sage's Soprano, head over to Aria Bootcamp, girl. Hello. You gotta check out Aria Bootcamp because Tony's on faculty with us and you can work directly with him there. And we have coaches that are absolutely incredible, like Francois, like Lucy, like all these people we're talking about. Especially for young singers, especially for singers in graduate and undergraduate, this program is amazing for you. Obviously, it's great for all ages too, but we had some undergraduates with us last season who learned more than they learned in school and were able to prepare incredible auditions for graduate school. ABC is the bomb. Yes, it is. But there's others too. I'm only promoting that because it's my program.
Depending on where you are in your level of singer, I mean, I would start at Chautauqua. I would start there. Then I would go to Glimmerglass. I've had the privilege of doing Santa Fe for 3 years. Santa Fe is the pinnacle. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. But at Santa Fe and these festivals, you will work a day.
You will work a long day.
Will work a day. So if you feel you want that intermediary step, I love Aria Bootcamp because it's intense, but you'll get something out of it. Yeah. You'll get recorded arias. You'll have something that can show where you got to after 2 weeks. If it's something you want to put out there to agents and opera houses, it's done very, very well. You do publicity photos. Am I correct?
I will do everything.
Okay, there you go. So for 2 weeks, it's a really good deal. Don't go to 6 and 8 week programs where you're just a fly among millions of other flies. Yeah. There's a lot of festivals with too many bodies. So go to something.
No, there's no age limit, my love. The only requirement for Aria Bootcamp is that you have had 1 year of undergraduate study so that you're already started on your breath work, on your technique, and you've had some diction, be it English, be it Italian, be it French, because we do a lot of language work because obviously language is so important. And having at least 1 year of collegiate study will set you up well for that program. But no, there is no age limit. We have had singers as old as 46, and we have had singers as young as 19 in one season, actually. And what's great is everybody learns from each other because everybody's at a different level of development. As we are in the whole business, everyone's at a different level of development, and you have to go along your own path, and you can learn from all of the people around you rather than competing with all of the people around you. And that's really what Aria Bootcamp's about. But there are tons of other fantastic programs, especially for young singers. Like Oberlin in Italy is a really great program, especially to get you overseas. And to get you some experience in Italy and starting to sort of see like the birthplace of opera. That's a really great program. Aix-en-Provence is also a very good program. There's a ton of programs overseas that are wonderful for young singers as well and have a huge language component, which is fantastic. Where do you apply? You apply on ariabootcamp.org. The 2025 season is not posted just yet, but it will be soon, I promise. And when it is, I will put it online, I promise you. And it'll be on Yap Tracker too. So I want to circle back around to our role preparation discussion. And I want to move out of sort of like the initial preparation of roles to the re-preparation, because I always find it interesting when I go back into Tony's studio and take him a role that we've prepared together and we need to revisit it or rework it for the next performance. So, or the next production. Tony, how is it different when you are refreshing a role for like a second, third, fourth time with a singer in comparison to when you're learning it brand new?
I get my cues from the singer. When the singer comes in and says, here's what went down. This was marvelous. This was awful. We have to figure out why that was awful. I was sharp here. I was flat here.
You're
Conductor called me out for this.
literally talking about me right now.
I got a list, and it's, I don't know what went wrong. All the things you said were going to happen. I started hyperventilating in the rests. I didn't get my body secure. I got carried away in the temperament. How can I make the temperament work and still lie to the public and the conductor and not lose my vocal technique? Part of it right now. The other is, let's further shade the language and find more sophistication while not bending so much what's on the page. I'm always for saying tutto non è uguale. I say it all the time, especially in Italian. But sure, you have a blueprint. So where did you find you had more room to breathe? Where did you find that you didn't sell the text as well? That one moment in Butterfly, in the duet, where you think, good God, I'm upstage and the orchestra says pianissimo and I can't even hear myself. I got to think. Yes. I had Scotto say in my old apartment all the time, you must outline here. Always, it must be bigger, it must be stronger. The practicality of singing pianissimo doesn't work. This is what I know about the first phrase in Mimi's aria. Don't get so soft the first time on the A. Get to it the second time. The men have been on stage for 75 pages. I'm knocking on the door screaming in my middle voice, let me in. And all of a sudden, I'm in the aria in the basement. Yep. Practicalities. Okay, you go and sing the role and say, this was great. I don't want to touch it. Here's all the things that went wrong. I go from there.
Yeah,
yes,
what do we want to improve on this time around?
I mean,
or how did the voice change in between the last time we did it and this time we did it? I say that Tony was talking exactly about me just 2 minutes ago, because when I did Minnie for the first time, and I'll be very transparent about this, when I did Minnie for the first time, I was going through my foot injury. And I had not had my surgery yet. And so I was really in a lot of pain and really going through it. And I could not put even weight on both feet, especially on the back part of my right foot. So I was pronating that right foot pretty much daily and couldn't get myself grounded. And, if you guys follow The Musical Athlete, which if you don't, you should, from Chris's posts that your feet need to be completely planted. All 5 points of that foot need to be on the ground. All 5 toes need to be on the ground in order for you to, number one, be able to use your pelvic floor, and to, number two, for your pelvis and diaphragm and rib cage to be in alignment so that you can get a full 360-degree breath. Well, I was unable to do that. It was absolutely impossible. And so for me, I did not feel that it was the best Minnie that I could have ever done, because I didn't have the best version of my body and the best version of my breathing that I could have had in that moment. Did I sing beautifully? Yes, awesome. But I wanted it better. I wanted the high C's better. I wanted the high notes better. I wanted the end of Act 2 better. I wanted it more solid. I wanted it more in my body. I wanted it more supported. And so when I went to Tony for the second time through, when I did it in Beijing, I said, okay, here's the list. This is what I want to get done as we rework this role. And we did it. And the second time around, it was so much better and so much more in my body and exactly what I wanted. Of course, it was post-surgery and post-rehab and, all of that. But even in between, my voice changed because I could support it better.
Mhm.
Obviously, I could put my whole foot on the floor. And as that happens, things open, things change. You can do things that you couldn't do before, and you can experiment. And I love that, Tony would always be like, okay, well, you did it that way before. Let's try it this way. Maybe it'll work better this way this time. Or you took a breath there before, so maybe let's move the breath. Let's take the breath out
And,
completely. Or
and
let's
let's not
try. Yeah,
let's not forget the other mitigating factors: weight loss, weight gain,
right.
menopause in women. All right, fine. What's changed? What's happening with the hormones in your body? Oh, you just had a child. All of a sudden,
Pregnancy,
they,
yes, post
yep.
pregnancy, absolutely.
What happens when you had an emergency C-section? Your
Yeah.
body, you don't feel things. So you have to start addressing the physicality of what went wrong. Gremlins, they all come in after the third or fourth. They just do with all of us. Conductor, that was horrible. This is great. What do I bring to the this is great, which is more on my A game with really looking at the score and being the brain surgeon in the room. Be the brain surgeon in the room. So
Love
the
it.
second and third time is like, yeah, come on, let's go. Something I didn't mention, know what your colleagues are singing to
Oh
you,
yeah, of course.
please.
Yes,
You
so
know,
important.
blank stares. Learn their music. Sing everything in your work. I don't need you to sing the chorus parts, but look at what's happening. And by the way, if the chorus is reacting to you as a Greek chorus, why did they react to you? If you didn't give them anything before, oh, I was just happy to get through it. Great. Next
Listen.
rung.
Yeah, you
Let's
have to be able
bring
to
it.
listen.
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to listen, react, and then, be able to speak back, obviously. I've got another question for you from Alejandro Cardona. Hi, Alejandro. What do you recommend for keeping a balance between emotional intensity and healthy singing vocal technique? It's a great question.
Oh
It's a
my God,
loaded question.
let's just book another
I
hour on this.
mean,
If
seriously.
if it is not physicalized to where you know how your body is going to sing difficult phrases, emotional phrases. Where's the emotion come from? For me, the emotion is laughing or crying. If you don't have something working down here for emotion, you're going to end up doing it with your throat. People
Hmm.
get carried away. I get it. We all do. But when you're working in such a situation that you don't know what is producing something that you worked on so carefully, and Callis would always say this, to know everything in such detail that you come off sounding improvised on stage. You got to get there, Alejandro.
Yeah.
So if you can get there where you've worked out how to make shadings and colors and emotion technically correct, then that will grow when you get the ping pong match on stage with your colleagues. But you'll know where to do it from
Yeah.
in your body.
Absolutely. It
And that
definitely
has to,
has to be loaded in the body, in the breath. And Tony has this wonderful technique where he actually wants you to put the consonants and the text in the pelvic floor when you do have heightened emotion, so that that text is sort of from the pelvic floor in the body. So you almost feel like every single consonant is supported by a pulse of the pelvic floor.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you that that is exceptionally helpful, especially when all you want to do is scream your face off. This is the end of the second half of Fanchula after you've just won the card game. And literally, we're like, "Treassi e un paio." All you want to go is, "Rah!"
where the hand
But you
comes up.
can't.
Where are you doing that from? Where are you doing
Right,
that
but you
from?
can't. So it's amazing because Tony will say when you're doing M, he'll say put that M pulsed from underneath in the pelvic floor so that it's not actually in the throat, it's in the body.
And
Then your throat's not doing anything.
Alejandro, I think I see you soon, maybe next week. Listen, one of the things I give everybody just for fun is go learn Czech. Go learn a Czech aria. Go learn a Czech song. When you learn that almost every consonant in its own fun way is
Mm,
voiced. And all of a sudden, it's like, I got to get this on my
yeah.
body. I can't do all that. You can't do all these sounds
Right.
without having that in your
Right.
body. R is a vowel. Kirste. How do you do that? How do I make
Right.
that R get to the back of the house? Then you go back to another language and go, oh my God, this is so much easier after I've gone through that.
Yeah.
And in the lovely words of Iveta, it's Italian.
Yeah.
It's always in front, so it's safe, even though it sounds quasi-German, possibly Russian. Don't go down that rabbit hole. It's not close. So, it's the, not the, and you have to find ways to keep it that forward with room behind it in your body. Find
I
something on
also
the
like
side.
looking at Verdi Portati sections for the same thing. So you guys know the Verdi lines where he writes the slur over the top and then the staccati or tenuto underneath. Those are what are called portati. And what he wants is a legato line with a separation of text or a weight in the text. And those you do in your pelvic floor as well. So you can keep the vowel, you can keep the pharynx and your resonator open, but then the text is underneath that legato. And if you just do exercise, just do vocalizes and be like, I like ice cream or something like that. And do like, I like ice cream and pulse that text from underneath from your pelvic floor. You'll figure out how to get the emotion in your body rather than in your throat.
And
And add it. It's just like doing messa di voce every
yeah,
day. Just like doing staccati every day. It's something that you can do every day and put into your practice to keep you out of
and
your throat.
remember, all of you, it's athletic. It's
Yes.
not cerebral. It's kinesthetic.
Totally is.
It is kinesthetic.
1000%. I just saw another question up here. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up your name and I'm so sorry, but Sage Kalveit, which I hope is like a wonderful German thing. Where can I find 2025 Aria Bootcamp information? Okay, so if you go, you can follow our Instagram, Aria Bootcamp, at Aria Bootcamp. And I will definitely 1000% update when our 25 season is posted. It is in August, will be in August. And the website is ariabootcamp.org. And I promise you, as soon as I have like 3 days to my life, I will confirm Aria Bootcamp 2025. I like to wait, honestly, until the major young artist programs have given out all of their offers and everybody knows what they're doing for the summer. That way, if people want to come as a second program, they can. So we've had many singers that have gone to St. Louis or to Tanglewood or to somewhere else and then come to RA Bootcamp after that. But also for those people that were like just on the cusp or, unfortunately they got the rejection letter or something like that, then our program is still there for you. Our program is there if have something so that you can have something for the summer. Corey, I wonder what hurricane will mess up our travel this year. I hope that no hurricane is gonna mess up our travel this year. But it was the last 10
Messed
years.
mine up coming home. Ask India. We were stuck. Messed mine up.
um, so I guys, we have time to take a couple of more questions. If you guys want to ask Tony more questions, I have a question from actually the last time we were supposed to see each other from a follower named CKJ Tenor, and we actually haven't
Super.
touched on this question yet. So I
Mhm.
think this is actually a great one to ask. CKJ Tenor asks, what would you recommend to young singers looking to gain experience while also surviving in the real world?
Ah, look, I can tell people what I did when I was at Juilliard. I got into the corporate world. I didn't do it to shift, to pivot, to do all those things because of COVID. It was 1986, 1985. Work the other side of your brain.
Mhm.
While you're working the other side of your brain, if you have focus in the mission that you're on, you're going to work your art form and have money to subsidize that, which is not singing schlock vocal jobs.
Yeah.
And doing things that are not quite for your voice, but it's a job. So I took the job because I want to build a resume. Right. And then you have no technique after a year or two and you're shot. So work on what your team feels is your specialty while you do something else out in the real world. Then start putting the toe in when you feel you're good enough and audition for things just to get up and sing in front of people.
Audition for everything.
Get
Audition
up in
for
front of
everything
people.
and everyone.
Just get
People
up. Just do
need
it.
to know your name.
Exactly.
People need to get to know who you are. And sometimes it takes 2 and 3 hearings for someone to actually go, oh, I get it. So you need to be singing. Sing, yeah?
Now,
Get out there. Do master classes. If there's like a master class at Carnegie Hall or something like that that you can apply for, do it. If there's a master class series through the Met Opera Guild, apply. You know, apply
mhm.
for everything. Apply for everything. Do everything.
And
I
in
also was in the corporate world. I worked at
yeah,
Saks Fifth Avenue in a buying office at Saks Fifth Avenue. And it was great because it was on, you know, the east side. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would take that little bus up whatever it was, Fifth Avenue, and go up to the Liederkranz and see Martina Arroyo for her role program. And I would have my lessons on Saturdays. And I had a really amazing boss who would let me leave at lunchtime and go practice. So I would like, I don't even know if it's still there, but Michiko Studios, it was on like 46th Street or something like that. I would literally
God,
walk over to Michiko Studios. I would practice for 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it was, walk back, and I'd eat my lunch at my desk. And my boss was totally fine with that. So, you know, you can find something else to do, I promise. I was a nanny too. I was a nanny to 3 amazing English boys who now are so grown up. It's crazy. But I picked them up after school at 3 o'clock and I stayed with them until like 10 p.m. when their parents came home. And I had all day before 3 o'clock to audition and do competitions and take lessons and all of that. And then I went and worked with them after 3. There's tons of stuff that you can do. Now, of course, everybody makes websites and does social media and does graphics and, you know, there's tons of stuff you can do while you're sort of cooking and marinating, you know. But as Tony said, working the other side of your brain, that's a really fantastic,
not
fantastic advice.
just to enliven more what you bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Cooper's in Basel, so Cooper also has another language, and that if you could pull that off and learn something in another language and put the two things together, you're ahead of the game.
Amazing, yeah, for sure. I've got one more question. Okay, I'm going to mess up your name too, and I'm so sorry because it's really beautiful. Nade Talevska wants to know, I am preparing Violetta for the end of March and Gilda for the end of May. Any advice for this Verdi combo?
Ooh. Well, at least you're in Verdi. That's lovely. The heaviest one could be Traviata, except for the beginning of Act 2 of Rigoletto. You have to do as much as you can to have that memorized within an inch of your life.
Yeah.
Work on that. Then make sure you have the idea of how to sing the most technically demanding things. Traviata and Gilda, find the worst parts for you, the things that drive you nuts. Spend your time ferreting all of that out. Then, as I say, you want to read something, bring something to the table as an actress. You're going to get to those rehearsals and you're going to have somebody else's opinion on how you should move, possibly how you should sing it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have it so worked into your body that you could not, like the oil man, just to the tin man, stop, freeze, and start using your throat.
Yeah.
Know in your body, get it worked out. When I'm studying something, I put a few hours aside in the mornings. Whatever your good practice time is, do one role early in the day, the other role later in the day, but have them so worked in. Write your text. Don't look at the music. Write it.
Red pen, guys.
Find,
Red pen.
write
Don't forget the red pen technique. Mm-hmm.
And then know what it is and memorize by writing that you're reading the prosodic, the words, the text, where does it go in the sentence. Come back to the music. You will be very enlightened in a hurry.